Although Los Angeles is currently battling the crazy wildfires that are going on around there, the UFC is still holding their event at the Intuit Dome, hoping to raise the support and the morale around the area. And I don't blame them. You know, if you already got the venue booked and all that, and it's safe enough to conduct this event, why not go for it and try to bring some joy into that devastated community and see if they can actually raise some support in the surrounding area as well, with a little bit of an economic boost as well. But this weekend, we got UFC 311 headlined by 2 title fights. Main event showcases the lightweight division as we have champion Islam Makhachev rematching Arman Tsarukyan after he defeated him 5.5 years ago, 30-27 on all 3 scorecards. But it's clear Tsarukyan has improved in that time. In the co-main event, we got bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili looking to fend off the toughest contender in the division as 18-0 Umar Nurmagomedov looks to cement his legacy and earn that bantamweight championship. We got 12 other fights on tap for this pay-per-view card. Very, very fun card. Sprinkled out, obviously, a ton of great fights, potential fight of the night candidates all around. And I'm here to break it down for you guys in quick pick fashion. Now, a reminder, it is quick picks, which means I want to get right to the point for every single matchup, but I might leave some details out about some of these matchups, but you can find my full card breakdown where I went nearly an hour talking about all 14 fights. You can find that link in the description below where I dropped the MMA Lawcast earlier this week. Otherwise, if you guys are here just for the quick picks, I got you covered. So, without further ado, hope you're laced up and ready to go because we're off and running with the first fight of the night between Tagir Ulanbekov and Clayton Carpenter. Carpenter is a very hot prospect that still has some unknowns in terms of the defensive grappling that he brings to the table. Offensively, very good, but Ulanbekov may challenge him as no fighter has challenged him before, hence why I have to lean with Ulanbekov here and for him to win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, Ricky Turcios going up against Bernardo Sopaj. Sopaj blasted onto the scene with a very close slobber knocker against Vinicius Oliveira last year, and I think that won him a lot of fans, which is why I believe he can go out there and put on a high pace, land more damage, and ultimately outwork Turcios en route to a decision victory. Next up, Japanese standout Rinya Nakamura going up against Muin Gafurov. I think Nakamura is the future of this division, and his wrestling obviously allows him to stay safe in most positions. He chain wrestles very well. He knows when to implement it, and he has huge knockout power. I expect him to use a combination of those traits to go out there and win the decision here over Muin Gafurov. Next up, Carol Rosa going up against Eileen Perez. Perez is a grinding grappler who is going to be up against it here against Rosa, who should do a good enough job in terms of staying upright and utilizing her significant striking advantage to piece apart Eileen Perez, chop away at that lead leg, maybe even muster up a late finish here given the striking advantage she has. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Rosa and Rosa to win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, Zachary Reese going up against Azamat Bekoev. Bekoev coming in as the current LFA middleweight champion, hoping to have a successful UFC debut on short notice. He has a very dangerous Zachary Reese across from him, but if Bekoev can use his wrestling to stay safe early, he should be able to put Reese through the ringer and go on to win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, Dawson going up against Diego Ferreira. Ferreira turns 40 on the day of this fight, and I think that's a sign of things to come as he should start to show his decline. And unfortunately for him, he has to go up against a streaking contender, or rising contender, I should say, in Dawson, who should do a good job in terms of implementing his wrestling approach, breaking down Diego Ferreira, and eventually finishing him in the second or third round. Next up, Bogdan Guskov takes on UFC debutant and short notice replacement Billy Elekana. Guskov has a crazy good power punching approach where he crashes the pocket and puts opponents away, but often shows some issues in the defensive grappling realm. Elekana is a very solid striking sniper striker, I should say, but also has some BJJ chops up his sleeve. I wouldn't be surprised to see Elekana counter Guskov effectively here and either club and sub him or just straight up knock him out, utilizing that sniper-like approach. Give me Elekana and Elekana inside the distance. Next up, Jailton Almeida going up against Sergey Spivac. We got Almeida obviously coming in as a big favorite here, and I expect him to go out there and do exactly what he did to Alexander Romanov. Grab the body lock, find a trip, get that top position against Spivac, and smash him until he eventually gets that TKO stoppage. Next up, Peyton Talbott going up against Raoni Barcelos. I am a huge Barcelos fan and would normally jump at any opportunity to bet him at plus 700, but he's going up against a much slicker striker who will utilize his speed and power to land big shots on Barcelos and put him away in under 1.5 rounds. Next up, Kevin Holland going up against Reinier de Ridder. De Ridder had a successful UFC debut just a few months back against Gerald Meerschaert, and now he's looking to showcase that BJJ once again against Holland, who is also a BJJ black belt and will have a striking advantage, but I think he's going to struggle to keep de Ridder off of him, which will lead to de Ridder eventually finding a dominant position and getting a submission victory. Next up, Beneil Dariush going up against Renato Moicano. I believe this fight is a perfect example of recency bias, something that we saw last week with Christian Rodriguez and Austin Bashi, which gave us a great number on Christian Rodriguez, and I believe we're getting the same gift here with Dariush. If his durability holds up, which Moicano is not a huge threat of in terms of exploiting, I think Dariush can shut down the grappling game of Moicano, get to his striking, and eventually put Moicano away, allowing Dariush to win this fight inside the distance. Next up, Yuri Prochazka going up against Jamal Hill, a battle of two former light heavyweight champions, both guys forced to give up their titles due to respective injuries, but I am going to have to lean with the power striking and pressure of Prochazka here. If his durability holds up, similar to what I said about Dariush in the previous fight, he should be able to pressure Hill, walk through his offense, land big shots of his own, break him, and eventually finish him within 10 minutes. Next up, we got the bantamweight title on the line as Merab Dvalishvili goes up against Umar Nurmagomedov. It was great to finally see Dvalishvili have the gold wrapped around his waist, but I think he's really up against it here, coming back pretty quickly after winning the title in September, going up against his toughest test to date. I think Nurmagomedov will do a good job in terms of stifling the high-activity game of Dvalishvili, stopping the takedowns, landing the better output, maybe even landing big enough shots to knock down Dvalishvili, but I think once all is said and done, we'll see Nurmagomedov get his hand raised on the scorecards and new bantamweight champion. And that leads us to our lightweight headliner here as Islam Makhachev hopes to defend his title for the fourth time, going up against former foe Arman Tsarukyan. Tsarukyan has clearly made improvements since the first time these two met up in 2019, and his power striking approach could potentially cause Makhachev some issues if he chooses to utilize his striking more than his grappling compared to his first fight. But I still think Makhachev will create grappling opportunities that he will be able to come out ahead on. It might be grindy, it might be slow, it might not be the most entertaining, but I think Makhachev will squeeze his way out of this matchup and earn a decision victory. I like the fight to go to the decision most in this matchup. I do not like the heavy chalk on Makhachev, but I still expect him to get his hand raised here and still lightweight champion Islam Makhachev. There you guys go. Quick picks for UFC 311. Reminder, tomorrow we will be dropping more content as well in the form of the free parlay, Lockheed Two-Step, Lockheed Trinity, hoping to bounce back after a gaffe last week. And then we have the prop drop dropping later on Friday evening, talking about all the fights, all the best props. We were able to highlight some very good ones last week. We'll see if we can do it once again for you guys here. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Peace.